perpendicular lines. All right, so the formula we've used for slope, we're going to continue using. So y2 minus y1, and then x2 minus x1, right? The rise over the run. So a reminder that parallel lines, they never intersect, which means that if they never intersect, they're going to have the same slope, okay? Perpendicular lines, they're going to have opposite slopes. So it's actually the opposite reciprocal. So let me give you some examples on the perpendicular ones. Oh, let's see. Let's look at this one. So let's do our rise and run for line y1, which is this red one. This red one right here. All right, so I'm going to go up and over. So let's count up and over how many we're going. So we're going to go up. We're going to go up, and then we're going to go over. All right, so we went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Going up, is that a positive or negative direction? Positive, so we went up 8. Then we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Positive or negative direction? Negative 8. All right, so when I do the rise over run, which one goes first? Going up, so it's going to be 8 over negative 8. Good. Does that reduce the 8 over negative 8? What does it reduce to? A negative 1. Good. A negative 1 over 1. Okay. All right, let's do this. Yes, let's do the same thing with the blue one. So on the blue one, we're going to go up and over again. So I'm going to go up, and I'm going to go over. So how many units up did I go? 8. Good. And going up, is that a positive or negative direction? Positive. Good. So we're going to go up positive 8. And then to the right, how many? 8. Since they're both positive, our slope's going to be what? Positive. Good. So this reduces to 1 over 1. Now, the thing with the slope of negative 1 and 1 is that it's really hard to see the relationship of the perpendicular slopes. So let me give you another example. And we're just going to write it over here. Just write EX, for example. So if my slope is 2 over 3, then the perpendicular slope, that's what that little upside down T is, the perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal, which means we're going to flip the fraction. So what would my fraction be once I flip it? 3 over 2. And instead of it being a positive, it's going to be a negative. Good. So that's going to be a negative 3 over 2. So look at your answers. You see how the fraction flipped? And then one of them has to be a negative. Okay? So if you want to add that in here, guys, these are your notes. So we're going to add that in here. Okay? So flip the fraction. Flip the fraction. One slope is negative. Okay, if you have that, then you're good. That's how you know you have your perpendicular slopes, okay? What this little box over here is just telling us is that a horizontal line and a vertical line, they're going to always be perpendicular. Does anyone remember the slope of the line that goes side to side? What slope is that? The horizontal line, what slope is it though? 0, okay? So on this one, your slope is 0. And on the red one, your slope is, what's it called when it goes up and down? Undefined. Those two are perpendicular slopes. So if I ask you for a parallel slope to 0, it's just going to be what? If it's parallel. 0, it stays the same. If I ask you for a perpendicular slope, it's going to be undefined, okay? All right, let's go over to the right side. The left side was all definitions. Over to the right, it says give the parallel and perpendicular slope in relation to the graph line. So first thing we have to do is figure out our slopes. So here I have T and S. So again, I'm going to just go up and over. How many units up did we go? 8. Going up 8, is that a positive or negative direction?
Positive.
Positive direction. Then we're going to go to the left. How many units? 2. Is that a positive or negative direction?
Negative.
Negative, good. So when I write my slope, what number goes first?
8.
The 8. So I'm going to write 8 over 2, and that's a negative slope. does that reduce to anything else? What does it reduce to? So your slope is actually -4/1. This is your slope. So if I want it to be parallel, do we change it? No. Look at the lines. You see how the lines are going the same direction in the symbol? It stays the same. So you're going to write -4/1. You see how these two lines are going in different directions? That means you're going to flip it. So what do I get when I flip -4/1? 1/4, and only one needs to be negative. Do we already have a negative slope? Like was the original one negative? So then the other one should be positive. Only one of them should be negative when it's perpendicular, when it's this one. Okay, let's try it again. All right, so first thing we have to do is what? Go up and over. Good. So we're going to go up and over. How many units up did I go?
7.
Good. And is up positive or negative? Positive. And then we're going to go to the right. Is that positive or negative? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I counted 7. Did y'all count 7? You counted 8? Okay, let me see. No, you guys are 8. I stopped just a little ahead. Yes, it's 8. So we went over 8. So I went up 7, over 8. Does that one reduce? Nope. So look at the symbol. Am I changing it or leaving it the same? Leaving it the same. If you look at the next symbol, it's going in different directions. So what do? Flip it. 8/7. Was the original one positive or negative? So the next one has to be negative. And again, that only happens when it's the perpendicular slope. Okay? All right, so in a minute you're going to try the graph, but let's also look at the formulas. Okay? Which number is your slope in line 1? 3. Good. And remember, I was having you practice. Technically, this is what? 3/1. Okay? That's how I want you to write it. The next one, what's your slope? -1/3. So look at them. Are they parallel, which means they look exactly the same? Perpendicular, which means they were flipped and one of them is negative, or is it neither? It's perpendicular because one was flipped, okay? So we're going to put perpendicular. So let me explain to you. Let me explain to you why I kept stressing that first one. This one here, for you to put it over 1. It's because if you didn't, some of you, when you compare 3 and -1/3, you might say it's neither. Because the first one, how would you know that it was flipped? So that's why when you have a whole number, I want you to put a 1 over it so that you can see that the fraction was actually flipped. Okay? All right, try practice 2. You're just doing the one with the lines. So what was our slope for the first one? -6/1. Good. Guess it doesn't show if I'm writing in white. -6/1. What about the next one? 6/1. So what was this one?
Neither.
This one was neither. And I know some of you were hesitant to write that, but it is an option, right? Some students may think it's perpendicular because it's one of each. All right. So the last thing we're going to do, well, not the last thing, right? We've got one more page. Sorry. So, the what now? All right, so the next one, we're still comparing them, but the only difference is now we have to figure out the slopes, okay? So let's find the slope of the first one. So that means we're using the formula. All right, so x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, what am I writing as my numerator? 3 minus 3. It's my denominator? -4. The negative and the negative is going to make that a positive. What's 3 minus 3? 0. What's 4 plus 2? So what's your slope here? 0. All right, let's go to the next one. Line 2. So x1, y1, x2, y2. You don't have to do the formula since we already wrote it down. What's your y2? 0 minus 0. And your x's? Good. 0 minus 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is 3. When you divide that, what do you get? 0. So if you actually divide it in your calculator, what do you see? That they're what type of slopes? Parallel, right? Because they're the same. So some students might not have seen it because they're leaving it at 0/6 and 0/3, but those are zero slopes. All right, so I'm going to give you a moment to try practice 3. Looking at practice 3, we would have 8 minus 6, and then 3 minus a -1. What did we get here? 2/4. Did anybody reduce it? What did we get? 1/2? All right, remember that's the number, the ABC button, and the number 2, so that's 1/2. All right, and if we did line 2, we would have had -3 minus a -1, and then 3 minus 2. So what do we get as a numerator? Over. Good, so -2/1. So were they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Perpendicular. Okay. You want to reduce it so that you can see that those numbers are the same. Because if we don't reduce it, then you'll probably pick neither. Okay. All right. Let's look at example 4. Same thing, guys. We were doing. What number is your slope? -3. If it's parallel, is it changing? It should be -3/1. So that when I do perpendicular, what am I going to do? Switch it, and what do we get? 1/3. Do I leave this one as a positive or change it to a negative? Leave it as a positive. Good. All right, let's go to the back side. We're almost done. So go ahead and try the practice on the back side. This one. Wait. Yes, it's looking at this one. I'll write it. What is it? -3x plus 2. The what now? Which equation below is parallel, perpendicular, or neither to the equation above? Oh, I think that must be looking at. So y equals -3x plus 2. There you go. Looking at that one. So in comparison to that equation, which one's parallel? Which one is neither? Or which one's perpendicular? Okay, we'll do it together. I don't have no idea what this question's asking. Let's see. Which one's parallel? Who can tell me? A, B, C, or D? A. Is parallel to this one? C. Good. So on C, we're going to write parallel. We're just going to put the symbol. All right. Which one's perpendicular? Technically, this is what? -3/1. So when I flip it, I get 1/3. So which one has a perpendicular slope of 1/3? Oh, but it's a positive. Did I say B or D?
B.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that one's perpendicular. So then these two would be the neithers. Sorry. I had moved my notes down to give you more room to write on the last page that I didn't realize these two went together. Okay. So you're going to do the same thing with practice 4. You're going to identify the slope, the parallel one, the perpendicular one, and then identify what they are on part B. All right, so let's look at the equation. So the equation we're focusing on is this one here. What is the slope of the equation? 3/4. If it's parallel, do I change it? No. Look at the symbol, right? The lines are going the same way. What about perpendicular? -4/3. We flip it. Good. So now you're just going to match it. Which one would be parallel? So which one has a slope of 3/4 in A, B, C, D? D. So that's your parallel. Which one's your perpendicular one? B. So that means the other two are your neithers, right? Because they don't have them. Okay. So with this one, the equation was in the y equals form. And we were able to identify the slope pretty easy because it's next to the x. So what do I need to do with example 5 then? Solve for what letter first? I need to put it in slope-intercept form, so I need to get the y by itself, yeah. So what should I move over first? All right, let's subtract the 4x. Okay. Okay, now when you rewrite it, make sure you bring down that negative in front of the 2y. And which one do I write first? The negative 4x. Is that a positive or negative 12? Positive 12, good. And what's our last step? By negative 2. So here your y is equal to, what's negative 4 divided by negative 2? 2x. And 12 divided by negative 2? Negative 6, good. So which one's your slope? 2x, but how do we write it? 2 over 1, which means your parallel slope is 2 over 1, and what's your perpendicular? Negative 1 over 2. Good. All right, I'm going to have you guys try the last one, and then we'll be done with the notes, okay? All right, good. I walked by more than half of you guys, had it right, so good job. Good job, guys. All right, so we're going to subtract over the 7x. Right, we got 3y. Make sure you put the x first. And then we're going to divide everything by 3. Sometimes it divides, sometimes it doesn't. Does the negative 7 divide evenly by 3?
No.
Nope, so leave it exactly as it is. Does 15 divide by 3? Yes. Which one's your slope? So what's your parallel slope? And your perpendicular? Good job, guys.